guys, my name is Julie. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over the 10 books that I read in the month of July. So the first book I read this month was Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. It's a literary fiction that follows this girl named Lucy as she's growing up in the 90s in Ireland and how she comes to terms with the pressures of the people around her and her sexuality and her feelings for one of her really close friends. It's a really devastating coming of age story and first love story, and it's baby basically people say that it's normal people but sapphic, and I totally agree with that. I really loved the writing style. I feel like Lucy's perspective was just so it was ironically funny at times, but also it wasn't boring. I feel like her thoughts were very interesting to read about, and I would highly recommend this. This was a 4-star for me. The only reason it wasn't a 5, because I really did enjoy the first 80%, was because the last 20% felt very different from the beginning, and there was a reason that it was that way, but I just personally didn't love it as much as the beginning. The next book that I read in July was Ruthless Vows, which is the second book in the Letters of Enchantment duology. The first one is Divine Rivals. I read Divine Rivals when it came out. I had Fairy Loot at the time, the Fairy Loot YA subscription, so I have the Fairy Loot edition, and it's signed, which I love this edition. It's stunning, but I didn't want to pay $40+ to get the second book. I rated this a 4-star. I really liked the atmosphere and the characters, but I didn't feel super connected to it. I wanted to read this straight away after finishing that one because it leaves off on a cliffhanger kind of, and I was impatiently awaiting the sequel, and I just didn't read the sequel for 7 months after it came out. So I rated this a 3-star. I like how it focused more on the gods and the war aspect of the story, but I feel that kind of took away from a little bit of the character development, and I didn't really feel super connected to the characters or to what was happening. It was good, but I didn't love it. The ending felt a bit rushed to me, to be honest, but yeah, I rated this a 3 stars. Then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is book 2 in the Powerless trilogy, I think it's called. I'm not sure. It comes after Powerless and then Powerful, which is a novella in between. I read Powerless back in December, and I rated it a 3.754 stars. I felt like it was a 3 stars the entire time. I felt like it was kind of dragging on, and I didn't really care about anything that was happening. But the last 100 or so pages really got me. I was eating it up, and I really wanted to read the sequel, and luckily the sequel did pick up right where Powerless ended, and it was definitely interesting. I think that this was very similar to Dance of Thieves, if you know that kind of adventure in a fantasy romance, I guess. I think there were a lot of quotable quotes, but I ended up giving this a 3 stars. I really didn't love it too much, and I just feel I'm not as connected to the series as I thought I would be and as I wanted to be. I kept hearing so many good things about Powerless, so I feel it was just a little bit overhyped in my brain, and it was a filler book, the author herself said that. So then I read Looking for Alaska by John Green. I didn't give this a rating. I really don't know how to feel about it. It was so interesting. It was just very different than stuff that I've read before, but it was I don't even know if it was a character study. I really don't know what this was. I enjoyed my time reading it. It was very quick, but at the same time I hated everybody in it, and I think that might have been the point, but I just personally didn't love that, and the stuff that was happening, the way that main characters thought and talked, and I was just ugh. But it's okay. I feel John Green always does deliver in the thought-provoking quotes department, so that was nice. Then I read Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller. I have been in a fantasy mood my entire life basically, but I'm saying specifically now I don't really want to read anything else besides fantasy, and then occasionally a romance or a literary fiction. But I was very interested in reading something Viking inspired, and from the cover you can tell that this is, and from the author herself said that it's Viking inspired. I think the cover is gorgeous, but I don't think the story was. I rated this a 1 star. It was not for me. I feel the writing was very young adult. It was very over-explanatory, and I just really didn't love that about it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the plot. I feel it was very predictable, and the high stakes felt very low to me. I know it was supposed to feel very anticipatory, but I just felt I didn't care. So it was a 1 star for me. I love this cover, but didn't love the book, and I've read books by Trisha Levenseller before, like Daughter of the Pirate King. I read that in 2021 and rated it 4 stars. Like, I haven't reread that, and I need to because I need to finish that series because I have the second book, but I feel like the writing felt very different in this, even though the Daughter of the Pirate King came out before this. So I'm not sure if it's just like time and how much I've read and the writing style that I like have grown to like. That was like, I didn't like this book, but I don't know, it was a 1 star, so. Then I read one of my favorite reads of the entire year. This is one of my favorite duologies now. It is the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. It's One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. This was so good. The writing style was amazing. Like, this is a debut book, and that's insane to me. Like, I will be reading anything she puts out. The atmosphere in this was so like dark, gloomy, and gothic. The magic system being like Providence cards and then like a plague was so interesting. I really loved the characters, and especially in the second book we get more point of views than just the main character Elspeth, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was very good. I rated these both 4.5 stars, and I would definitely reread these. I just felt like it was so atmospheric and so lovely, and I just really enjoyed it. I feel like I liked the second romance better. Not that it's like, okay, I don't know, it's like it's different characters, but I really enjoyed that romance. I liked both of them. I just feel like because of the way that the story went, one of them wasn't like as developed past the first book as it could have been, if that makes any sense. But I mean, if you know, you know. It says on the front or on the back that Elspeth has like a monster in her brain that she calls a nightmare, and he like talks to her and stuff like that, and that is a huge part of the story. It is literally like in the name. If you know, you know. Again, I really enjoyed the nightmares perspective. He was just so funny. Like, he's so funny. It was very comedic, and I would highly recommend this if you're interested. Then I read Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This has been on my TBR since like 2019. Like, I've had this book for years and years, but it's just so like vague. I feel like the back and the cover itself, like the cover is stunning, but I just feel like the synopsis that you get on the back is just very vague and doesn't tell you that much about what happens in the actual story. So I've never wanted to like pick it up because I was like, oh, I really don't know anything about it. Like, I don't hear people talking about it that often. But I finally picked it up because I'm trying to get through my physical TBR, and I enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars. I don't know if I love it as much as I love books that I typically rate 4 stars, but it was very interesting. I feel like the writing was very planned out. Like, you could tell that the author planned every single scene and nothing felt like thrown in there. Like, it felt very purposeful. So this is the only book in this series that I read in July, but in August I read book 2 and then the novella in between book 2 and 3, and now I'm currently reading the 3rd book. But I just feel like the way that this series is building is very interesting. It feels very purposeful, and I don't like love it, but it is very good. None of these books, I mean, I don't know about the 3rd so far, but I feel like these are all above a 4 star just because of the writing and the characters. Like, they're very detailed, and I really like that, but I don't like love it. I would still recommend it though. I'm currently editing that clip, and I want to say that it is categorized as a YA fantasy, but there are definitely themes of like very heavy gore, and there is smut in like every book. So I just want to point that out because it is YA, but it does have like those more mature themes. Then I moved on to my 2 rereads of the month. I really just needed to focus on taking my ATITs exam for nursing school applications. So I didn't want to continue the Furyborn or like the Imperium trilogy and just start like not focusing on what I was supposed to be doing. So I did rereads only so I could kind of just like turn my brain off a little bit, but like not. I reread Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I read this back in 2021, but I read so many books in 2021, like my brain was just like flying through books and I wasn't really like soaking it in. And I was super excited for the movie to come out, and then I never watched it. I don't know what it is about me, but like I will be so excited for a book or a movie to come out, and then I won't read it for like literally years. Like Exhibit A, Exhibit B, this movie. So I'm like, I don't really know. But I do want to watch a movie now because they announced that they're going to make a second movie, which I really don't know what that's going to follow, but that's definitely interesting. I really enjoyed this book. I feel like them as characters, like Alex and Henry, who are the main characters, they just have such an interesting dynamic, and I really like them like as their own characters. Like, their personalities are just so fun. I feel like I relate more towards Henry than Alex, but I feel like Alex was just really comedic, and I feel like Henry too. Like, I really like them both as individuals and together. Their dynamic was really fun. I just feel like the premise of this book, being the sons of two international political figures, was very, very, like, it was just fun. Like, it was a good time. It felt very rom-com-y, but also, like, handled other topics. I feel like the way that stuff in this book was handled, like, at times wasn't my favorite, so I didn't rate it a 5-star. This was a 4-star for me, but I really did enjoy this, and I feel like I would definitely be reading more of Casey McQuiston's books. Hopefully that doesn't fall. Like, I feel like it's about to fall. We'll see. I have one more book. So my last read of the month of July was another reread, and it was one of my favorite books of all time. This is a 6-star read for me, and it's Normal People by Sally Rooney. I really wanted to reread this. I said it in my last video, but I wanted to reread this and just solidify that it was a 5-star for me, because I feel like I didn't really love this the first time I read it. I rated it 3 stars, but then, like, after I kept thinking about it, I just really loved the story, the characters, everything about it, and I really wanted to reread and annotate it. This is my most annotated and, like, tabbed book that I have. I just felt like this was such, like, a character study kind of literary fiction, and I really wanted to study the characters, so it was very interesting. I really loved, like, this book in general. There's so many quotes that I love. I love these characters. I connect to them so much, and I relate to them. Like, you can't tell me they're not neurodivergent. Like, you literally can't tell me that. Like, I know it's not confirmed, but it's confirmed in my head. Yeah, I just love this book. It is a 6-star book for me. It's so, so good. I love it so much, and it is my favorite, like, standalone novel of all time. It's just so good. Anyways, these are all of the books that I read in the month of July. Great. I think it was a really good reading month. My average, I'll put it on the screen. I feel like my August TBR, which I'm going to be posting a video about that soon, is very, very ambitious. Like, I don't know who I think I am, but I digress. I feel like it's going to be a very good reading month in August, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!